Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. I just have a short video today to lament the passing of Steve Ditko, the great artist, perhaps best known for Spider-Man, but did a lot of great work on Doctor Strange and other characters. I'm not a huge aficionado of Ditko's work, so I won't insult his memory by pretending to know all of this and that about him, but I have always admired, especially that early Spider-Man work, just because of the huge difference in the nature of the character of Spider-Man from any superhero to come before him. He was quite different, from the intricate webbing on his costume down to the poses. As I talked about in the Trickster video, and I'll link to that in the top right hand corner, the archetype of Spider-Man as a superhero is a trickster, and he's blurring boundaries between man and boy, between human and spider, blurring what we think of as the big, square-jawed, masculine hero. Because of his spider abilities and his acrobatic powers, this is a main hero who poses and moves in vastly different ways from many of the heroes who come before him. And this is something that Ditko made just feel very natural in the comics. Even when you go back now, after so many wonderful artists have come after him and placed their own touches on the character, you can go back to those original Stan Lee, Steve Ditko Spider-Man comics and still see that freshness, and it looks believable. So I always appreciated that from Steve Ditko. The other thing I'd like to say, though, about this is a broader problem, because one of the things that I initially thought when I heard Steve Ditko had passed was how sad it was that he'd lived for so long without being able to contribute anything to the comic book world through the major publishers and whatnot. Now, I have heard little things about his specific story and how he possibly might have isolated himself and different things. I don't know much about that, so I'm not necessarily speaking to his specific case, but just in terms of the wonderful comic book artists and writers who have created so many powerful classics for us, who are still around, still working, it is a absolute tragedy that the industry will not utilize their talents anymore. I don't understand the need to always go with the young, hip, new person on the street. There are a lot of talented new writers and artists, and there's nothing wrong with using them, but we live in a world where William Messner-Loebs, the amazingly talented comic book creator, was homeless, living in a car. There was a story about him, somewhat recently. Chuck Dixon is writing for titles on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and there's no shame in that whatsoever. That's actually where the industry's turning, and he's doing amazing work. But a person like Chuck Dixon, we've seen in his Bane Conquest title, why isn't this man on a regular Batman title? And I know individually, by case, like for Chuck Dixon, for example, I think there are people who don't like his politics and want to keep him out, and all these silly, stupid reasons. But he's not the only one. I've mentioned William Messner-Loebs. Some people, like John Byrne, have said that they don't want to return to a regular comic book title, but I think the industry could be a lot more hospitable to them and coax them into it. There are plenty of people out there whose best work does not need to be in the past. And what do we have now instead of that? We have the two major comic book publishers seemingly giving all of their titles to just a handful of writers. Why is Mark Waid writing everything in the world at Marvel? It seems like he writes just about everything there, and that's an example of a character whose best work is firmly in his past. He has seriously gone off the deep end and hasn't written anything of real story value in quite a while, which is a shame because he wrote so many amazing things way back when. But I don't know why he stays in the industry and continues to get work when some of the greats who are marginalized or pushed out don't have their names on the covers anymore. Jerry Ordway. This man still does work. Why isn't he a regular on Superman? Thank God Dan Jurgens is still working at DC. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with Green Lantern. But there are so many artists out there and writers who I would love to see more of, and it's just bad editing all around from the publishers that none of these writers or artists are utilized anymore. It's definitely a shame. So that was one of the things I thought of when I heard of Ditko's passing, and I thought it worth mentioning as well. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. What are some great Steve Ditko titles that you have enjoyed in the past, and what other writers would you like to see return to mainstream Marvel or DC comics today? That's all for this one, just a short video, but I'll be back soon with more. And until then, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.